Hello, everyone. Welcome to Project Likkutei Torah, Daf Samach Aleph of Parshas Chukas, Sefer Bamidbar. We are learning the biur on the pasuk v'ikhu lecha paraduma, the first mimer with the Stibur Maschil. And let's just jump right to it. Hine, according to this, it explains in the body of the mimer that the idea of throwing this cedar wood and hyssop wood and tied with the crimson wool into the fire of the paraduma. This is the inyan of hamshachas za of atzilas to mamshech Cahnman bittul into the mainukvin, which is the afer. Now, this is possible to say additionally that the Shlachas Ceder, etc., alludes also to the refinement of the middos of the nefesh abamis. This is written in Parshas Rabbi, Parshas Chukas, in Tanchuma, that through the fact that Adam lifts himself like an Erez, he is like a b'tzaras, lashes with, he's afflicted with tzaras, and since that he is mashbil as atzmei ke'ezav hu misrape, because he lowers himself like a cedar, he becomes healed, as is brought down in the Yaakov and Parshas Tzara. And you can explain this inyan according to that which is written by the Romzes in his explanation in his Parshas B'zehar, Parshas Truma, the guards to ilanin neti'in da'akar loin kucha brichu v'shasa loin basar achara v'ilain ikrin arzil levanin. Meaning that the vav, the six directions of za, right, chesed through his side, that are uprooted in the world of dethu, fall into the world of bria. And afterwards, they're planted and they come into the world of tikun. That's the case. According to that, it's shaykh, also this level of eras of cedar, that we need this refinement, meaning that which found the shmiras kalim in the world of tohu. This is by way of our sages that one should always be soft like a reed and not hard like a cedar. This is explained in another place in Parshas Emor, that in Olam HaTohu, because of the strength of the midas of Olam HaTohu, there's no hiskalus of one midah and another midah. For example, that one that's very kashakara, strong looking Arabs, it's not able to tolerate one with the other. That's not the case in the world of tikun. That in tikun, the correction in the world of tikun is that you have this aspect of the six kavin of the six different midas are able to be intercluded within each other without contradicting each other, having this inter-inclusivity. And this is the whole concept of the Arzei Levana and Shernata. It doesn't tell him that represents the tikun through chachma, which is kachma, which is the hamshacha of bittul, and the midais, which is the inyan of Arzei Levana, which are the six directions of Abba, etc. According to this, we can say that this is the whole inyan of throwing the eitz eres of the azov. That the azov represents the hashbala and michas ruach and bittul, because the azov, the hyssop tree, is a very small plant. And similarly, the teilas shani, this wool thread, which is made from these red seeds that have worms in them. That's what's called Toilas Shani, which is the idea of a worm, as is written in Telem Vanechi, Toilas V'laish. And we're reuniting this string. It connects this string, which represents this idea of Toilas, which is the idea of, I guess, Bittel, and uniting the cedar branch with the Azov branch, and then you throw this set of this Erez, Azov, and the Shnitzalas into the Shrefa Zapara, meaning in order to have this beer, the midos of Tohu. Essentially, what accomplishes is this refinement of the attributes of Tohu, which are kasha ke'eres, which are strong like the cedar. And then through this imshacha of bittul, we create this iskalus that through this level of Arzei Levan and Shonata, they have this level of tikkun. Therefore, Asay Shaper says that the Shlochas, it's Erez and Azov, Chulei, was specifically before it became Afer. Meaning, while the para is still burning, that is when you throw the Eitz Erez and Azov and Shlitzalas. Meaning, because they're also from this level that we need biur, refinements, they also become this Efer, just like the para, meaning they need to become Efer all at once. The para and the Eitz Erez of Azov. And in the language of the Zohar, Parshas Chukas, that cave and this avidas Efer by lemisde ba eitz ve'ezov chole, that you're forced to need to say that lav davka, meaning since this cow, the para, becomes ashes, therefore you need to throw in the eitz ve'ezov. This is lav davka. And we can also say that this Toilas Shani itself is shaykh. Say there's an element of biur in the Toilas Shani itself. That we also have this inyan of Toila of L'umazeh in Klippa, the worm and negativity. That this, with regards to this, it says in Yeshaya, Im yadimu chatoila, that it refers to the worm in the negative sense. And it's possible that also this level of dibur and oisius of klippa, for example, lashon hara and rechilus and dvarim b'telim, this inyan that which is written in Rashi and Chumash at the beginning of Parshas Balak, regards to Bilam, and it says koiche b'fiv. So all these inyanim show toila in the negative sense. But when you burn the toila, all these levels, all the klippa, you're burning all the klippadika elements of the toila. And what remains is the Efer, which sources in Kedusha from Elamato, and then Nimshach, this Gala, this levels in Elamatiko, this level of Erez Balvanin, and Talas Yaakov, Mesei Yisrael, the Ped Kedusha, the mouth of holiness, and like the Erez of Tehu is rectified in this level of Tikun. There's two advantages of Tohu and Tikun together. We have two advantages of both of it together. The light, we have the advantage that the light is strong, just like the world of Tohu. And nevertheless, it's able to have this level of bittul and iskalus, which is the mila of Tikun, which is the akudim b'chli echad, which is higher than shvira sekelim. And also the erez is the same. The word erez has the gematria yitzchak, which is the level of gvura, and similarly to last shani is the level of gvura that we push the ruach hatuma. To push the ruach hatuma, we need to have This level of gvura davka, as is written in Zayar and Ridra and Nasai, with regards to this Indian of Cyrus to Dikna, that they are very strong to Likkutei Torah, meaning that because they are nimshachim from meichas dima, nislabish in the gvur of atik. They're on the second column of Samach Aleph. Now, nevertheless, even though that here it's explained that the Indian of Shlachas it's Erez, etc., that this is the Indian of Mshachas from Za of Etzilus, and similarly it's mashma explicitly in the Bzehar and Parshas Mitzayra and Parshas Chukas, we can say that these two inyanim are alluded in them. That we do not throw the Eretz Azov Shnitzoy Las before the surface of Para, and we also don't throw in the Eretz Azov Shnitzoy Las after it already becomes Afer, but rather in this intermediate stage while it's burning. The reason why we do this is, but rather we do it specifically Kishin Nivka, meaning when the Shrefas of Para is only the Indian of refining the Grus of Noiga and the Maim Chaim, they're only the Indian of Amshachal Yaina from the level of Mechas Timachul. However, the Shlachas Eitz Erez and Azav is in order to have this beer from those levels that is within Noiga, through these beer, Nimshach also this level of Erez Balvanin of Atzilus, and similarly the Erez of Tilashani, and therefore we throw them into the Para specifically after the fire of the Paraduma is already starting to be burned, but before it gets completely burnt. However, according to as we explained, it's implied that when we throw in the Eitz Erez and Azav, etc., this is only the Indian of Amshachas from the level of Midas, of Kedusha, of Tikun. Okay, so that is the end of that beer. Now moving on to the next mimer, same Dibra Maschil, just the second mimer of the same Dibra Maschil, V'ikhu Eilicha Paraduma. V'ikhu Eilicha Paraduma Tim'ima She'ein Bamum Asher Loi Allah Allah Oil. The Midrash explains that Para represents Galus Mitzrayim, as it says, Egla Yefefia Mitzrayim, pasuk in Yirmiyahu. Now, Aduma represents Malchus Bavel, which is called Reisha Dava. It says pasuk in Daniel, and Tmima represents Malchus Madai. The explanation of V'ikhu Eilicha specifically that one takes that V'ikhu Eilicha Paraduma represents taking oneself out from Ma'aseh Mitzrayim into this level of Maisha, which is the level of Das. And to understand this, because that which it's established that we read Parshas Para specifically before Pesach. This is in order to purify the whole Jewish people, in order so that we should offer the Korban Pesach with the level of Tara. And why? The whole question is, why was it not decreed that also before the Sha'are Regalim, this also Karbanis? So, meaning the whole shaila here is if it's so important to be pure before the Chag of Pesach, why shouldn't we read the Parshas Par before all of the other Yamim Tovim? We should read Parshas Par before Sukkot, and we should also read Parshas Par before Shavuos. But no, Dafka will read it before Pesach. So why is that? In order to understand this, we have to understand the fact what is written, Pamartam Zerach Pesach Lashem Asher Pasach, etc. It says in the Chumash. And seemingly it's difficult to say, though. We have a question. Though, why do we need Lifsoyach that that why do we do this Pesach? That everything is already revealed before Kadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning to say, why did Hashem Davka need to do this process of skipping over, this idea of Pesach, the idea of skipping over the houses of the Yidden? Why do we Davka need this Inyan? Meaning we could have just targeted the gun that needed to be, affected, and not having this Inyan of Pesach Davka, this idea of skipping, dilug. So the Inyan is written in Shir Shirim called Deidihi Neze Ba Medale Galahar Mekap's advice. Ana Deidi Vamerli Kumui Lach Rayasi Afasi Lachilach. So this section of Shir Shirim, I mentions this idea of skipping over the mountains. That the three festivals, the Shalosh Garlim, represent three different midos. So let's analyze this further. Pesach represents Ava, love, as we say in Shir Shirim, Yisha Kenim and Shigas Biur. And to explain this passage, the kissing of the mouth, that the Jewish people say to Kadosh Baruch Hu, when she should kiss me, that this, meaning to say that there should be, that the Jewish people are requesting from Hashem, that there should be isdab kasrucha berucha, that one spirit should cleave to another spirit. And by way of analogy, just like a father loves his son and kisses him because of his chavivas halev, because he had such a strong desire for his son, meaning this love expresses in this kiss with his mouth, so to speak, that every spark in every single person, every single Jew, needs to have this istabkus rucha berucha, the cleaving of spirit to spirit, meaning that the machshava, dibur maisa of a person should cleave to the machshava dibur maisa of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning to say, machshava and dibur, how do we connect our machshava and dibur to Kadosh Baruch Hu? That's specifically through learning Torah and Tefillah, Torah and Tefillah. And how do we connect our Maisa to Kadosh Baruch Hu's Maisa? That's specifically through giving tzedakah, as is written in Pasuk in Tehillim, Oisei Shamayim Va'aretz, meaning to say that this is the Shachav and the Shpa, which is a Siyah Shalai. So too with tzedakah, we're Mashpia Va'isa, meaning to say, and so too Knesset Yisrael always requests Yishakini, the idea of kissing. However, the body separates and conceals the love because of we have the Jewish people here in this world, we have daigas of parnasa. We're so concerned about parnasa and other daigas, other just material concerns that we have in this world. So that causes us to have a certain level of separation from Hashem. It prevents us from loving Hashem. However, it is known that the Jewish people will only be revealed with emunah that Hashem created, that yesh ma'ayin. By way of analogy, that if man was able to do something yesh ma'ayin, for sure, bevadai, or you say davar haya batal nekdai, that for sure this thing would be nullified against it. So too, Kadosh Baruch Hu, for Kadosh Baruch Hu, everything is considered as not compared to him. By way of analogy, when a person speaks one speech, this comes from the neshama, and the proof that speech comes from the neshama is that when a person is sleeping, he doesn't speak at all. And speech, the speech that is not the neshama itself, rather it's a garment. Speech is not actually the neshama, it's a garment for the neshama. It's, so to speak, an intermediary for the neshama, and it is completely nullified to the neshama itself, the nefesh itself. And so too, with regards to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it is written in Tehillim, b'dvar Hashem shemayim nasu. That Hashem created the heavens with his speech, like by saying Yehi or, that let there be light. The light is a garment, so to speak. This is written in Tehillim, which garbs his garbs himself with light, so to speak. That the speech enlivens the higher and lower worlds in Gan Eden, and that which is higher than them. And all the worlds become completely nullified compared to it. As is written in Malachi, Ani Avaya Lo Shanisi, I am Hashem who has never changed. As is written in the Zayhar, Kala Kamei, Kala Chashiv, everything is considered as not compared to Hashem. That if even compared to that which is Kamei, compared to Hashem, meaning compared to his speech, which is even, which is a lavush and an intermediary for Hashem, even that is considered as not, everything is considered as not compared to the dibur of Hashem, and the dibur is considered not compared to Hashem's essence. And because of this, Hashem is called Kucha Brichu. Why do we call Hashem Kucha Brichu in Torah Shabbal Peh? Because Kucha Brichu implies that Hashem is Kadosh, the idea of Hashem being separate, meaning Seviv Kol Amin. But specifically, he is Brichu, he is B'Seicha Eilamais, he's within the world, and he's only enclosed himself within the worlds through his speech. And this emunah that that he took himself from Mitzrayim, befker shemafker atzmai, that he is mafker himself, b'mamaynai b'shari dvarim, with his money and other things, meaning without any reason or calculation. Yavar alayma. Just like we say, b'chol nafshecha, we say b'chol nafshecha twice every single day, morning and night, meaning that we give ourselves, our nefesh, over to Hashem. And that it should be with emes, meaning with the total level of Mesiras Nefesh, that the sleeping of Mitzrayim should be, totally give over ourselves over. Now we are on the third column of Samach Aleph. Now from this, the Eitzah, that one should connect one's soul to the Echad of Hashem, meaning Hashem's Machshava Dibur Maisa, as we spoke about earlier, through Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. This tshuva, as it says in Gemara, tshuva ba'isei makim, as is written, Vikashta misham asavai lekecha, meaning misham davka, that even those very distances, meaning they should give eitzah leitzei misham liskasher l'mayla mamish, does not go from a madriga to another madriga. And just like Hashem skips over the mountains, meaning to say that the mountains are the medalga harim. The mountains represents the avos, the forefathers. The mikabetzal gvais, and skipping over the valleys, that represents chachma and tevuna. You find that medalig, this idea of skipping, is higher than seichel. That's not in a manner of ilav al cause and effect, because say that there's no way to calculate. It's completely unlimited, the greatness of Hashem. And that Hashem's understanding is there's no number and there's no way to count the Hashem's understanding. And how can it be? How can we reach this hamshacha to us, which is olam hashafa? It's such a low world. Rather, the explanation of koil is hamshacha, like the idea of kol doidi, the voice of my beloved. Rather, there's the idea of skipping over the mountain, dagla harim, as we explained earlier, which is higher than intellect. And this shows us that also we become like this, that everything is without any calculation or reason or knowledge. As is written, Ana doidi va'amar li kumi lach, etc. Li daika, meaning to say, because basically li niver elam, because of me, the world is created. That's what every person needs to say. That as is brought down in the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. And therefore, kumilach means that kuma shalach. And because of this, Pesach is called Pesach because Hashem skipped over the houses. So what is this? That because of this, we read Parshas Par before Pesach, because Paraduma is the level of Para is a very low level. As is written, Ifnei Shor Mesmael Arbatim. Upara Pachusa Mishor. And so it seems like that the level of shor, of ox within the Merkava Vichaskal is the lowest of all the Pnei, the faces of the different animals of the Merkava. So, and we know that para is a derivative from shor, so it represents the lowest. So because of this, one must bring the paraduma in order to purify oneself from tumas meis, as our sages say, ein misa b'lechet, there's no death without sin, meaning to say that misa is nefila. Between our father, it says separation between us and our Father in heaven. How is it possible to have this nefila, this falling, this idea of falling from misa? However, when one does this maisa behima, meaning he eats and drinks without knowledge, meaning without thinking about Hashem like a behema, because he is so accustomed to eating and drinking, he's able to come to complete sin, because it's eating and drinking like a behema can lead a person to actual sins. However, nevertheless, even though that this is completely permissible, it's only for a person that already left Mitzrayim from his tivus, his physical tivus. However, for a person that's still in Mitzrayim, meaning that he's still connected with tivus, wants to return to Hashem with tshuva, that person needs more gedarim, more limitations in his conduct, in his daily conduct, in order for him to leave Mitzrayim. Because that's why it's usher to eat chametz on Pesach. That's why we create these extra stringencies in our eating to such an extent that even the smallest mashu of chametz is usher. That even though there's no tam of chametz, if there's a mashu of chametz in a mixture, you're not going to taste the chametz. So how can that be usher? Because it's the time of taste Mitzrayim, and we need a lot of extra zahiras in our achila and shia during Pesach to create these extra gedarim for us to leave Mitzrayim. Because of this, that's why we read Parshas Par before Pesach, in order to purify ourselves and come to this level of Ava, which is represented by Pesach. This is why it writes in a Parshas Chukas, "V'ikhu lecha para v'saraf es a para le'enav." They should burn the para, meaning that the afer should remain, that the dust, the dirt, the ashes should remain amongst these the four Yesodis, the four elements that were there previously, the Eish, Mayim, and Ruach, and Afar. And the lakach eitz Erez ve'azov. This represents the two opposite midos, as it is written, mina Erez asher balvanain, from the Erez that is in Lebanon, that is very lofty, such an extent that till the Azov Sher Bakir, which is the most lowest plant. So we have the Erez, and the Azov represents two opposites. The Erez, the cedar tree, is the highest, the tallest tree that exists, and the Azov, the Hyssop, is the smallest, or at least representative of the tallest and the smallest, respectively. And so the whole idea of taking a branch of the Erez and branch of the Azov and tying it with the Shnitz Halas, then dipping it in the Mayim. So this is the source of the Mayim Chaim. This represents Mayim Chaim, which is as it says in Pasuk in Yirmiyah, "Oisi azvu makor Mayim Chaim." And this is the explanation of "V'ikhu Lecha," that is Moshe, that from the Mina Mayim Mishisihu, the Moshe is specifically drawn out from the water, meaning to say that everything that is in Das is bedas, with knowledge. This is the explanation of etc. End of Mimer. Next Mimer on Amud Gimel of Daf Samach Aleph is Dibur Maschil from a Parsha V'hiza Hatar Alatame B'yayim Shlisha V'yim. Now we're going to analyze the idea of the sprinkling of this water mixture and on the Tameh person on the third and seventh day. Now we know by Tchias Amesim it's written in Hosea, B'yayim Shlishi Yekimenu V'nichya Lefanav. The Indian is that Mechaya Mesim is Barachmim Rabim, as you say in Shemona Esrei. Tal Sha'asilach Yes B'yis Amesim. It's the dew that will in the future revive the dead. This is the source of the Yugam Mitzrachmim, which is Tiferes, which is the meat of Rachmim, Midasai, which is the meat of Yaakov, which ascends all the way up to Ceder, which is the level of Rachmim Rabbi, which is the Ruach Bariach HaTichain, which is Mavriach Min Katza Katza. And this is specifically B'yam HaShlishi Yakimeno, specifically in the third day, which represents the third of the Midas Tiferes, which is the Kavim Sai. And this is V'asaschem al Kanfin Sharim, that it says in Parshas Yisro that I will carry them on eagle's wings, which Nisharim, the eagle, represents Pnei Nesher of the Merkavah of Yechezkel, which represents Rachmim, which is arouse the Rachmim on the descent of the soul. That through this, V'avi Eschem Eli, in Parshas Yisrael, will bring you to me, in most literal sense. It says in Parshas Zinu Kanesha Ya'ir Kinai Al Goyzolov Yerachef Yisa'eu Al Evrasai, etc. V'nichya Lefanov Dafka, that meaning to say that Lavo will be revealed, this pneumius of Atik Yamin, which is higher than Shvira and higher than Tikun. And this is what it means by Yom HaShlishi, etc. Specifically on the third day, we do the Ceder. Here is a makam meirachik, specifically seeing the place from the distance, which is by way that Yaakov, Asher Padas Avraham, Yaakov redeemed Avraham, which is the level of meirachik, which is rachik mehasaga, that's distance from contemplation. Amarti ach kama v'hi rachik mimeni, Parshas in Kahalas, that Shlomo said on mitzvahs paraduma that all this is nimshach through Bayam Shlishi, which is the love of Rachmim. And this Efer HaPara is also the level of tshuva, to burn all the hirhurin bishim, so negative thoughts, as is explained in another place, that through this, nimshach the maim chayim, from the level of achkama v'hirachoika, the rachik shenai sekarev, and this inyan, like the inyan of a hazah, to the sprinkling to purify the tummy mace, kacha mamish, so to literally will enliven the person's soul that's connected to the hevlei ha'olam, the vanities of the world. And a person that is so connected to the vanities of the world is considered like a mace, a dead person. As is written in Yeshaya, v'yitenis Rishayim kivrei. The sages say, Rishayim b'chayim k'reim mesim, that the wicked people, even though while they're alive, they're called mesim, meaning that through this hirus of rachmim rabim milmaila, we're able to create this tchias mesim to a certain extent, through this mitzvah paraduma, by sprinkling these waters, are able to really infuse life to the person that's tummy mace. Therefore, the sprinkling is also done on Biyam Shlishi through arousing this rachmim on the person's soul, rachmim acharabim rachmim aleinu, v'hu rachmim michaper avain, etc. Specifically to the level of rachmim. So that's on Yom HaShlishi. But what about Yom HaShavi, the seventh day? This represents Malchus, which is the level of David and Melech, and who is the seventh of the Ushpizim. That Yaakov is the third of the Ushpizim, and David is the seventh. And the level of David, which is the Merkava, to the level of Malchus, is the level of David Avdi. And this is written in Bzehar, Parshas Bzehar, Ki li v'nei Yisrael avodim. The Jewish people are servants to Hashem, and to say that through the idea of being avodim, to be servants of Hashem, that this will be able to be li mamish, will be able to be completely connected to Hashem. Will be Hashem's, as is explained in another place in the verse in Parshas Shlach to Yigdal Na, etc. That this level of Eved, of being a Hashem servant, having this complete level of bittul without any calculation, is source and very lofty. Meaning to say that when this mamshech from this level of Keser Shalamayla, that's higher than Chachma Bina, which is this level of Malchus Vein Sof, which is this level of Li Mamish, and this is explained in another place on this verse, whereas Tich Li Lo'ilam Chulei, this level is not shaykh to have any shinuyim, etc. And also the source of Tumas Meis is Nimshach V'Mshvesach Kelim, that we have these 7 kings of Tohu that died, etc. That Bela is the level of Das, and this is also the inyan of Eitz Das Tevera. That's not the case with regards to Chachmi laws. It is written Yamusav Lev Chachma that Eitz Hachayim, how much more so at this level of Keser, which is Chaya Chayim, this Nimshach through the bittul that is higher than Das, which is the level of Beim Shvi, etc. And this is the inyan of David, who is Chai V'Kayim, who lives forever. And this is also by Yaakov, we said that our sages say Yaakov Vinu Loi Meis, the Yaakov Vinu Dentai, which is this level of Lamaila higher than Shiras Kelim. And therefore, the Hazah of the Taras Tamei Meis removes the Ruach HaTuma, specifically B'Yom HaShlishi Uva Yom HaShvi. That's why specifically on the 3rd and 7th day, Davka, we sprinkle the tmei mace with this haza'ah. And that is the end of the mimer. Yesher koyach, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.